Greetings and welcome to Dance Africana Dance Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Lindsay Gary. Powered by Dance Africana Dance Podcast highlights the African dance tradition from Houston, Texas to the African continent. Its episodes specifically celebrate Black dance artists of the past, present, and future, the history of Black dance in Texas, and African and diasporic dances from around the globe. Our Black Dance in Texas episodes are also a part of a larger oral history project to document the history of Black dance in the region. And on today's episode, we're excited to discuss Sabar. And our guests today will be sharing their amazing artistic practice and their work. And we're joined by the four amazing performers, as well as our additional member who we'll introduce shortly. For the Diop and the Yermande family, this groundbreaking group out of Senegal transmits a wholly new genre of West African Sabar music and consisting of Diop on Sabar and vocals, Noumoucounda, Cissoko of Kora and vocals, Samba and Ndokh of the Tama, and Jason Hosier, who's playing the electric guitar. This unique collaboration interweaves the griot storytelling traditions from thousands of years with Sufi mysticism and rock and jazz influences. This unique combination of West African and Western instruments creates a conversation between tradition and modernity, East and West, acoustic and electric. Every listener is invited into the journey unfolding within each song, touching common humanity. And so we're joined by all of the members. We have, again, Diop. Hello.
Hello.
Magnifique, Rek. And we have, that's my Senegal Wolof that I'm trying to practice. And we have Noumoucounda, Cissoko.
Hello, magnifique, madame Kora.
Okay, welcome. Jeff.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Noumoucounda. And we have Samba and Ndokh.
Hello.
Hello, welcome. He's going to use English today. Okay, come on. And Jason Hosier.
Hey, what's going on?
Where's your Wolof? I'm just kidding. Welcome. And last but not least, we're also joined by the amazing behind-the-scenes maven, Stupak Diop. Welcome.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. Okay. Walaikum salam.
Oh, wow.
So y'all can hear me trying to practice my Wolof. I struggle with it, but we try. And so we're really excited to have you and welcome you into Houston and really to discuss the importance of Sabar, the Sabar tradition. And so going back into this really ancient practice, which you're going to see in Senegal, but also in other parts of West Africa that are nearby neighboring countries. So first of all, let's talk to you all about what is Sabar.
On veut parler, c'est quoi Sabar? So it's an instrument that's very special, that is a part of the griot family. So the Sabar ensemble, the ensemble of drums, is a family that composes... Oh, it's part of... it has the Ndar, which is one type of Sabar. Chol. Tunguni. Kung. Bung. Khin. There are a lot of different bungs. There's the bung hubba. Bung walker.
Bal.
Bal. So all of these are the different types of Sabars that come together to form the group Sabar.
And so these things that you mentioned, are these instruments?
Yes, so these are all different shaped percussion instruments.
Got it. Okay, so when we look at Sabar, what's beautiful, I'm still learning a lot about it. And to our listeners, I think some of our listeners are familiar with Sabar to a certain extent. Actually, at our Black Dance Festival, just a few weeks ago, we had a Sabar class. And so we had someone who was teaching Sabar dance, and we had the Sabar music.
So, il y avait un festival, quelqu'un a donné les séances avec le Sabar danse et la musique.
And so when I first was introduced to Sabar, the reason why I wanted the explanation is because I was blown away by all of the rhythms.
Elle était étonnée par tous les rythmes.
And the level of polyrhythms.
Et le niveau de le polyrythme.
All the things going at once.
Toutes les choses faites en même temps.
And trying to keep up with it.
And essayer de être dedans.
Mm-hmm. And so that's what's, to me, most mesmerizing. So I want to stop there for a second and talk a little bit about griot, what it means to be a griot. And so I know that the original term is jelly, right? Or nguel, right?
Ngewel.
Ngewel, okay.
Il veut parler, c'est quoi le griot?
So,
So Ngewel or griot is a big family that represents many things in Senegal. It's like a tree that has many leaves. And every leaf represents something in the griot. You have griot who play the sabar. You have griot who sing. You have griot who dance. You have griot who speaks the stories. So you have griot who also give counsel or advice to important figureheads. So they say marabout, like spiritual guides. Everything that you touch in Senegal, there's a griot who's involved. Even the president has a griot that speaks about the things that the president himself can't speak about. So it's the griot that speaks that. And this has been this way for a very long time, for the hundreds and hundreds of years. We represent many things. In the, back in the day, you didn't have telephones. It was the griot who were able to bring everybody together. So if, back in the day, if like a child disappeared, the griot would take their sabar, would sing to say that there was a missing child. Wow. Until he was found. It represents many, many things and kind of holds many places in our culture. We speak about the griot. We're just going to speak until tomorrow because, you can say everything.
Well, I appreciate this explanation because, here in the U.S., Black Americans have their own understanding of what a griot is.
Ici, aux États-Unis, les Américains noirs, ils ont leur propre compréhension de c'est quoi un griot.
But the thing about it is it's very limited compared to how expansive the true griots are.
Mais le concept ici, c'est limité. C'est pas une grande compréhension de tous les côtés.
And it's something that we use, but don't understand the gravity of the importance and the influence that a griot has and the different hats that the griot could wear.
So, c'est quelque chose que les gens ici utilisaient, mais ils ne comprennent pas tous les détails.
And what's amazing about all of it is that, in our culture, those traditions have been passed on, even though we don't necessarily have the same names for them.
Donc, ici, la culture, il a toutes les traditions dedans, mais on n'a pas le même nom pour ça.
So we have our dancers, we have
les danseurs.
We have our musicians, but we typically don't refer to the artists as griots. When we say griot,
les artistes,
we talk about who's keeping the stories, who's keeping the history, who's passing down an oral tradition.
Quand on dit griot, on pense plus sur le côté de les histoires.
And so that's why I think it's so powerful for us those who are listening to hear the role of arts in preserving these types of things.
Pour cela, je pense que c'est intéressant pour les personnes qui écoutent de comprendre le rôle de ça.
And so with that, I want to talk about how you all have been able to use this shared love. Now, where is everybody from in Senegal?
Donc, jogging
and I know we're going to get to Philly too.
Chacun de vous. Yeah.
So maybe we can start here.
Avec Samba.
Samba.
Ouais.
Jogging Gafan.
Je viens de Sénégal.
Mais quelle part?
Hein?
Quelle part? Quelle part de Sénégal?
Dakar.
Dakar, okay.
He's from Senegal. He's from Dakar.
Dakar, Senegal, okay.
Mais je suis né à Thiès.
But he was born in Thiès.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is like
45 minutes to Dakar.
From there. I think I may have been there.
It's kind of a big city.
Okay.
A big town. Yeah.
Is it south or east?
No, it's kind of like directly east.
Okay. Oh, okay. Okay. Good. And Noumoucounda?
Tu es de où?
Je suis du Sénégal, mais mes d'origine viennent du Tambacounda. Tama vient du Mali.
Okay, so he's from Tambacounda.
Okay, which is in Senegal.
Yes, that's quite deep in Senegal.
Okay, which part?
Tambacounda, il est comme 2 heures de route.
Non, c'est plus
C'est vrai, c'est
5 heures de route.
5 heures de...
5 heures de route, right? Yeah. It's 5. I thought it was 12 hours. It's 5 hours from Dakar.
Oh, but that's
And it's like kind of also in the east.
okay, going east. Okay. Wonderful. Abba? Dakar.
From Dakar.
Okay.
I was born in Dakar.
il y a des places avec ma mère et avec
I moved a lot with my mother and my father.
Okay, I understood that. I was proud of myself. So those who listen, I'm trying to get better with my Wolof in French, but it's a struggle. It's a struggle. So this is great. So I want to know about growing up. So was this something that for each one of the members from Senegal, was it something that you all were a part of as children? As were you from a griot family, or was it something that you picked up later in life?
So, on va parler avec chacun de vous. Est-ce que vous êtes né dedans la famille de griot? Et est-ce que vous avez grandi avec la musique? Et quel âge vous commencez d'être dedans la musique?
Oui, on est tous nés sur la grande famille de griots.
We were all born into big griot families.
Voilà, et notre grand-père, arrière-grand-père jusqu'à notre père, on joue.
And so our grandfathers and great-grandfathers, all the way to our parents,
Voilà.
played.
Donc, on est grandi avec.
We just grew up with it.
Voilà.
Wow.
Mais Sénégal, tous les griots,
Senegal, all of the griot,
ils sont en identité.
they have an identity.
Dans quelque chose, on joue, on fait, on sait que Abba, il est venu de famille Diop. On joue autre chose, on dit Samba, il est venu de famille Ndiaye, et suite.
So each one, you know kind of what family lineage they come from and what they play.
Wow, amazing. And so those families played certain instruments.
Donc, les familles différentes, ils jouent les instruments différents. Peut-être, Perry, tu peux parler sur ça?
Oui.
Oui, comme j'ai eu comme Samba dit, donc, avec les familles, c'est des percussions. Mon papa, c'était un tribal.
So his father was a multi-talent. So he danced.
Danse, il joue la
He played the kora. He played the guitar. He played the ngoni, percussion.
on est né dans ça.
We're born into this.
Tu vois, et puis on est né à Dakar, on a tenu aussi
We're born in Dakar.
les grands percussionnistes, même petit Sabar, donc c'est la communication. On a tous les mêmes choses dans la
We all have the same thing within our families. It's the communication.
grand-père.
Like Samba said, the grandfathers
On est né, on écoute Canada.
until our parents, and then we're born into it.
Menuiserie, les mécaniciens, on connaît que la musique.
We only know music.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Abba, did you want to add anything?
Même chose,
Same thing.
j'ai grandi à
I grew up in a griot house.
Wow.
My mother's griot.
j'ai grandi
All of her ancestors are griot.
donc il fait
My uncles play. My father's griot.
sa mère.
His mother, father. All my papas play. All my uncles play.
On est dans le
So I was born into percussion.
on me raconte, mon père m'a dit,
My father told me when I was born,
tu sais, Sénégal, quand tu
when you're born in Senegal, after 1 week,
es tu
we do a ceremony to celebrate the name of the baby. In that era, my father had a lot of friends who played. He said that the day of my baptism, and all of his friends surprised him. The friends that were in all different parts of Senegal, they brought all different kinds of percussion, suruba, djembe, sabar. And it was just like, yeah, everyone played.
That's amazing.
It was a really beautiful ceremony, very special. When I was young, I played at the house. Everyone said like that's what came into me. It was just all of them coming to play.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so powerful. I'm over here like,
C'est puissant. C'est quoi le mot quand tu as les griots dans tous les côtés de la famille? Bete bete. Explique ça un petit peu. Bete bete. If your father and your mother are both griot, so both lineages.
okay.
If they're both lineages are griot.
Bete is what it's called.
Yeah.
Okay, wow. That's it's funny because the wow means two different things.
Yeah, and so all of them are bete bete.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
It's incredible. And it's so fascinating because as you're talking, I'm like really, really thinking about just the complexities and the power of this tradition being passed on for so many hundreds of years.
Quand vous parlez, il pense beaucoup, il réfléchit sur la puissance de cette culture. Elle doit continuer pour des années, des centaines des années.
Yes.
And that's why we're here. And we're fans of each other.
Oh, that's important.
C'est important. The connection is,
I feel it.
yeah, because we're all fans of each other. So we came to America, we found a guitarist who is as interested in our culture as we are. And became more amazing.
And that's going to bring me to a question I have about how you all met. But I'll come back to the rhythms in a second and the unique way that you all play. How did y'all meet? Did y'all know each other in Senegal? How did we meet somebody from Philly?
So il veut savoir comme chacun de vous connaît l'autre et après comment vous connaissez Jason.
OK. D'accord. Madame, voilà. Par exemple, moi, je connais la papa de Abba.
I knew Abba's father
Avant, je connais Abba.
before I knew Abba
Et parce que son père, c'est le ami de mon père.
because his father was a good friend of my father.
Et
Oh,
tout le temps, le papa de Abba,
All the time, Abba's father,
c'est nous.
he came to my house.
Il m'a mis ici.
He put me on his lap.
Et moi, je suis vraiment aimé beaucoup le papa de Abba.
I really, really loved him.
oh,
Mais après, j'ai rencontré Abba.
But afterward, I met Abba.
On est à studio pour faire des enregistrements avec son oncle.
In 2009, they were in a studio to record with his uncle.
Et moi, je ne savais pas, c'est le fils de Malais. Malais, c'est le père de Abba.
I didn't know that he was Malik's son. Malik is Abba's
responded.
Et j'ai attendu des rythmes vraiment très, très jolis.
He came and he heard these really amazing rhythms.
Et je dis, c'est qui fait le break?
I said, who's doing the breaks?
On m'a dit, c'est le petit là-bas qui fait le ataya.
He said, he's the little one over there that's making the tea.
Oh,
Je dis, amène-le ici. Là-bas, c'est pas...
so he was little.
He said, bring him over here. Oh, that's not his place.
Yes.
Wow.
C'est ça que je connais Abba. Après, j'ai resté 20 ans, 25 ans. On ne s'est pas vu.
So that's when I knew him. And then since then, I haven't seen him.
Il y a un moment donné, je suis parti à Japon. J'ai fait 6 ans là-bas.
There was a moment where I left Senegal. I went to Japan for 6 years.
Le temps de Corona,
And then during Corona,
je viens au Sénégal.
I returned to Senegal.
Mais je ne veux pas personne sait que je suis là-bas.
But I didn't want anybody to know I was there.
Si la personne savent que je suis là-bas, on m'appelle pour faire des enregistrements et studio.
Because if people knew I was there, then they'd call me to
Voilà.
come and work in the studio.
C'est le même moment, Abba, il est en train d'enregistrer quelque chose.
It was the first moment that Abba started to record his own music.
Il parle avec le technicien, il dit non, moi, j'ai pensé un gars seulement qui peut faire ça, il s'appelle Samba.
And he spoke with the engineer and was like, there's only one guy who I would want to come in and record with me in that Samba Ndokh.
Il dit beaucoup de fois ça dans cet studio.
He said it a lot.
Après le technicien, il dit, bon, écoute, je vais t'expliquer quelque chose. Samba, il est là.
The engineer was like, I'll let you know Samba is here.
We call me.
So Abba called him.
I come to help him. Je viens de l'aider.
I came to help him.
Le truc. Après, il m'a expliqué. Je regardais. J'ai vu la photo de papa de Abba.
And after that was when we started talking and I saw the photo of his father.
Et j'ai téléphoné à Abba, j'ai dit, hey, tu connais cette vieille-là?
He said, no, he was astonished and he called Abba and he said, wait, you know this person?
Abba, il me dit, c'est mon père.
He said, that's my father.
Wow.
Moi, j'ai pleuré.
And I started to cry.
J'ai pleuré beaucoup. C'est ce moment-là, j'ai décidé
No.
de le prendre avec moi.
That was the moment where I decided that I was in it.
Nous, je le connais, ça fait 30 ans. Plus.
I know Noumoucounda for over 30 years.
J'étais très petit.
I was very little.
Viens avec mon papa.
I went with my dad.
On doit jouer avec un grand diva.
We were going to play with a big diva singer.
Elle est connue partout.
Beyonce.
Voilà, c'est comme bien fait. Voilà. Mais la femme, elle est très fâchée.
But the woman was very angry.
Parce que elle disait que pourquoi vous m'amenez cette petite-là.
She was like, why did you bring me here to this little gig?
Il est trop petit.
Because it was like a small thing.
Un ami de mon père, il dit, bon, écoute, faut pas parler. Attends, tu écoutes, il joue.
A friend of my father was like, hold on, wait a minute, wait until, maybe he's saying that Samba was too small, maybe.
Après, on a commencé,
After we started,
je jouais,
I played.
la femme, elle dit, c'est pas possible.
The woman was like, it's not possible.
Right.
Elle m'amène sur le grand concert, moi et nous, c'est ça que je connais.
Afterwards, she invited me and Noumoucounda to play the big concerts. Avec quel âge?
Mon père, il est fan de
And my father is a big fan of Noumoucounda's.
I was like, I know that's not Beyonce, so they would do that. Now I want to ask Jason, tell me about where you grew up and how you got connected with the rest of the group.
Il a demandé comment il est connecté avec vous.
Well,
From Philly.
yeah, from Philly, Philadelphia. They also might call it Jerseydelphia. I'm from that, because I grew up on the Jersey side, across the river from Philly, very much in the whole greater corridor between Philadelphia and Atlantic City. I moved around a lot in that area. And Beck is from the same area. So, but we met each other while traveling outside of the country. We didn't know each other when we both, lived in that area growing up, but we met each other in a group when that was traveling in South America. And
So you had to go to South America to meet somebody that you grew up in the same city with.
Exactly.
right.
That's life.
Right. And, years after that, or a few years after that, it was during COVID, I think she reached out to me just on Instagram and was like, hey, what's up? Remember me? I moved this side. And I'm like, yeah, how could I forget? She's like, yeah, I moved to Senegal and married this incredible percussionist. And I'm like, whoa, that's crazy. She's like, you guys should do some Instagram collaboration, which never ended up happening. But then they came to the U.S. at one point and we met up, and it was like, I had long awaited meeting them and meeting Abba. I had been, looking at his work and being, just thinking, whoa, this is crazy. Like, it's been a long time that I've been very drawn to the West African music and had delved into playing some of it prior to that. And just like, it's always just been like on a soul level, like very resonant for me, and so, yeah, I couldn't wait to meet them. Meet him and see her again. And then, then we met and we played together just the two of us. It was as funny because he was like, I remember him saying like, "Oh man, if we had a guitarist like this," and I'm like, "You do if you want." Like I'm like, I'm down. Let's go.
I love it. So what instruments do you play? I know you play one instrument in the band, right?
Yeah.
The guitar.
Yeah, guitar.
Do you play other instruments?
Mainly guitar. You know, I played bass in bands, string instruments. I even played mandolin once in a band growing up. Strings, you know, I played a little bit of Ngoni. I haven't studied it super, in depth yet, but I mess around with the Ngoni, but mainly guitar.
That's amazing. And is it more the rock style, right?
Oh yeah, flute. I do play some flutes. That's right.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's nice.
The fula flute a little bit. And I play, just around on stuff like that.
I love it. And so you bring in the rock and roll background. Is that correct?
I guess you could say that. Yeah.
So tell us more about the background, because I know you probably weren't playing Sabar when you were originally playing guitar. So what was your background? Like, what types of genres did you play? And, how do y'all bring that together?
Yeah. I guess I work backwards on that question. It's brought together very naturally without trying, just by being together in the same space and just playing what we feel, where,
That's nice.
As far as what I grew up playing, it was a lot of stuff from rock backgrounds. I like my first professional gig was actually in like playing Grateful Dead and reggae songs. And then in high school, like I did some studying jazz, like traveled around with the high school jazz band, and always been very into jazz, and I've studied with some jazz guitarists. But yeah, I'm into so much music, everything from, all your American roots music and blues and jazz to Indian classical music and reggae, cumbia, all kinds of stuff, and West African music. And it was, before I met them, it was very much, I didn't really know about Senegalese music much. It was mainly like music from Mali and the Afrobeat stuff. Like it was always like that stuff was always, I was so on my radar. Really loved that. But then when I met them, actually not long before I met them, I heard about Sheikh Lo, who he played with. He toured all over the world with Sheikh Lo, and I knew about them. But anyway, yeah, that's the background that I come from, and when we get together, we kind of just like, they don't expect me to be anything other than what I am, and they're so deeply, as deep as you can possibly be, steeped in their tradition, but they're also so open-minded and open-hearted, and they're true like innovators. They just want to hear something interesting. So they find it interesting that I just take my background, and of course I do what I can to learn their forms, and that's such a joyful thing for me to do. But yeah, and then we just play. They're just like, yeah, play what you feel.
Wow! Oh my gosh, I'm excited to see you all perform, really. And I think it's really just, I don't know, I keep thinking about, when I first heard the Kora, I was like,
Elle a écouté le Kora.
it made me think about the banjo,
C'est le banjo.
made me think about the guitar. I'm like, this sounds like something I've heard. So it's interesting.
Le connexion.
So it's not surprising that you're blending in with what they're doing and that you all are exchanging.
C'est pas une surprise que tu peux mélanger la guitare avec qu'est-ce que vous faites.
That's what they're all about. It's about like the spontaneous, thing happening with the music and the blending, and yeah.
I love it. I think that's beautiful. And I want to also ask about, now, what unique style do y'all bring, and how is it similar or different from the traditional rhythms? I know there's like, with Sabar, there's like Chebujin, there's all the different rhythms.
Elle a demandé c'est quoi le son unique que vous amène et comment ça c'est différent que les choses traditionnelles, comme les rythmes traditionnels.
Ouais. C'est ça. Hosier ça, pendant le fait, j'ai beaucoup de
So before I began to work on this, I thought a lot about it. I saw Papa Dudu Ndiaye, who's well known in the world of Sabar.
Il avait fait un joli concept.
He made a really nice concept with the Sabar.
Beaucoup de musique.
I listened to a lot of music, Senegalese,
Fait des projets avec Tama.
a lot of people who had made projects with the Sabar.
Et j'ai vu beaucoup de personnes qui se mettent au Sénégal faire des écoles, par exemple, mais comment j'ai été, comment j'ai m'aider.
I also saw a lot of people outside of Senegal who were giving lessons like how to do, barambai, how to do chabujan.
Et j'ai dit, pour faire quelque chose, il va être spécial.
I saw that to do something that would be special,
Il faut que je fasse quelque chose de magique.
I have to do something that's magical.
J'ai beaucoup appris.
And so I learned a lot.
Et je laisse mon baguette dans mes
And I always had my stick in my pocket. And then I played with my hands.
tous les sabats.
I put all the sabars together and I play all of them.
Il y a beaucoup de tonalités de gens qui dans
There are a lot of different sounds and tones in the sabar,
le développement.
and I want to develop
Et avec ça,
with that.
ça qui a mis les fondements.
That's the foundation.
Grâce à un dossier comme Samba a utilisé le poly depuis que j'étais jeune.
Like Samba said, since I was young,
Il a fait le tour du monde.
I've been, Samba. Samba, okay. So since Samba was young, he's toured the world.
Qu'est-ce que j'ai aimé sur mes sabatiers, sur mes sabats?
And what I would like for my sabar
C'est la même chose qu'il veut faire avec.
is the same thing that he's done with his Tama.
Quand je rencontre,
And when I met Noumoucounda,
depuis même à des années, il est femme.
he's famous. I've known about him for years. Both of them.
Le système, il cherchait un percussionniste qui est comme moi.
For years, he's looked for a percussionist who's like me.
Il nous a mis ensemble.
There was a project that brought us together.
Il a peur que je l'ai appelé.
And it was after that project that I called him.
M'a décidé,
And with his modest heart, he said yes. No.
il
And we created this
notre type de pied de table.
to show another way of playing the sabar.
Tout le monde peut danser en même temps.
Everyone can dance at the same time,
C'est ce que tu veux.
no matter what you want to do.
Je sais que pour avoir une certaine place,
But I know to have a certain place,
et non besoin de montrer que tu théâtre, ça va, et que son corps,
we know that we need to show like a jazz, African sabar, percussion, guitar, kora, tama.
c'est là que je fais.
And that's why I put this together.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Mais aussi, je ne vais pas parler.
There are many surprises that I'm not even going to talk about.
Okay. Let me be surprised because I'm just blown away already. And first of all, thank you for that. And I want to say, too, you brought up the dance, and I want to talk a little bit about that since, that is kind of what brought us here in terms of our first connection before the interview. And I want to know, how do Sabar and the music and the dance go hand in hand? And I want to explain, you can translate, but I want to explain where I'm at.
Il veut savoir, comme le danse et le sabar, ils sont connectés.
And the reason why I ask is because, and this is kind of a long story, but the reason why I ask, if you want to translate that,
La raison qu'elle a demandé,
is because I'm a choreographer.
les chorégraphes,
And a dancer, a dance artist. But when I was studying dance at the university,
elle a étudié le danse dans l'université.
it was much different from how I studied or how culturally I learned to dance.
C'était trop différent comme elle a appris dans son culture.
And not just in terms of technique, but in terms of how we created dance.
Pas seulement les techniques, mais aussi comme la danse était créée.
And so I remember I was taking a class, an upper level class on composition.
Elle avait une séance qui était comme un haut niveau de composition.
And my professor challenged us to create a dance without music.
Et le professeur, il a donné un challenge de créer une danse sans musique.
And not only was it a challenge, it was mandatory, right? It was a final assignment.
Yeah, c'était obligé. Pas de musique.
And I struggled.
C'était difficile.
And it was the first time I realized that, growing up as, a person of the African diaspora here in America, that how much I needed music.
C'était la première fois qu'elle a vraiment goûté comme une personne de l'origine africaine. Elle a besoin de la musique.
Because we had all kinds of examples and we had done smaller assignments leading up to that point.
Exemple, et beaucoup de petits challenges dans la séance.
And so we learned how to, compose with nature, just, with looking at nature, with words as inspiration.
On a appris comment faire les danses avec regarder la nature ou avoir inspiré par les paroles.
But as soon as we were asked to not use music, I hit a wall.
Mais le moment qu'il a demandé qu'on n'utilise pas la musique, s'était bloqué.
And I knew from that point on, that's not how I was going to choreograph.
Et elle savait depuis ce moment-là qu'elle ne va pas travailler comme ça.
But most importantly, I appreciated the challenge, but I realized it went against my culture.
Elle a réalisé que ça, c'est comme l'opposé de son culture.
And so it was a good challenge, but I realized how much we as Black people rely on music.
Elle a vu comme la culture noire, culture africaine, c'est très important, la musique.
And as a dancer, how those two things is very difficult to separate.
Comme une pétiate, c'est difficile de séparer les deux.
And so with that being stated, could we talk just a little bit, because I want to ask one more question after this, but can we talk just a little bit back to the question I asked initially, is how is the dance intertwined with the music of Sabar? What are the interactions with the musicians versus the people who are participating? What does that look like? What is that like in that environment? Because I know there's gatherings and things like that. So paint that picture for our listeners.
Il y fait une peinture de l'image de l'expérience de la musique et la danse et le sabar et comme tout ça.
Création. Ça. On a le sens. Les gens se disent tout le temps, être incurieux, c'est un cadeau de Dieu.
So we have the chance that, people say to be a griot is a gift from God.
Depuis que tu es né,
I believe that you're born.
tu es né dans la beauté.
You're born into beauty.
Quand tu es jeune,
When you're young,
tu entends sur ta maman.
you
Ça y est, tu es jeune. Ta mère, tu fais le ceebu jën, tu prépares le ceebu jën.
so when you're young, your mother is preparing the chebujen, the dish,
Vois qu'il chante.
and you see that she sings.
Et il fait les petits sons. Et tu vois, il y a une autre tante qui sort et qui danse direct.
So you see like your mother as she's cooking, she's like making rhythms, and then like maybe an aunt comes along and she starts to dance to give her motivation when you're going to finish the chebujen. She dances. You see your father, it comes, and he starts playing directly
Il y a le sabar dans la
because you have sabars everywhere.
Quand tu rentres, il y a le sabar.
But when you enter the house, you're like with the sabars,
Tu vois, il prend le sabar et il direct.
and he like comes in, grabs a sabar, and starts playing directly.
Tu as la chanson,
No, throughout the day, you have singing.
tu as ton père qui a joué,
You have your father who plays,
tu as une personne qui a dansé.
and you have someone who dances,
Tu crois de danser.
and you just grow in this. You grow.
Et c'est pour ça que toutes les maisons de prière,
That's why all the griot houses,
tu n'as pas,
the food hour,
tu vois tout le monde.
everybody comes
C'est que ça va être neex,
because we know it's going to be good,
joyeux.
joyous.
On va danser.
Afterward, we're going to sing and dance and play.
Et on fait des messages. À ce moment-là, si on fait jouer,
In this moment, if we play and dance,
il y a des autres qui font le tasso.
you have other people who speak and like rap.
fait le message.
But they put messages inside of it.
Par exemple, il y a quelqu'un mauvais dans cette maison,
If you have somebody who's kind of bad in the house,
il y a une façon de parler,
there's a way to talk.
ça le fait revenir. Après, il fait des choses de bien.
Oh, okay. So it's like a way of kind of afterward, like they only do good things.
Et si notre quartier, il y a un grand problème.
If there's a problem in that neighborhood, like with a family,
Nous, les griots, on partir là-bas pour le faire la conciliation.
so the griots go there to help.
Like mediate.
Voilà, ok.
Wow.
Yeah, we grow like this.
Mais le rythme qu'on fait,
But the rhythm that we do,
tu peux pas danser le barambay
you can't dance barambay
sur le rythme de yaba.
in the yaba rhythm.
Ouais, parce que chaque rythme,
Every rhythm,
il y a une façon de danser.
there's a way of dancing.
Right.
Il y a barambay,
There's barambay, there's
il y
chebujen,
a lembel,
there's the numbal,
tagañ,
dagan,
yangap,
yangap,
ndëcc.
dech,
Beaucoup de rythmes. Ouais.
lot of rhythms.
I was literally trying to think of the rhythms I learned. I know for sure Badambai and Chebujin. We actually
Barambay, okone chebujen.
yeah, that we did at that I learned when I was in Senegal. Don't ask me to perform them right now.
Elle a appris en Sénégal, mais elle peut pas danser maintenant.
But also with our class, we had at the festival we had Wali and Ndiaye, and he taught those two rhythms.
Dans le festival, il y a un gars qui s'appelle Wali Ndiaye qui a montré les deux rythmes.
And he's based here in Houston, so hopefully,
Il est basé ici in Houston.
yeah, we can connect further. Now, I want to ask one last question, and this could be something directed to everybody individually.
Peut-être pour chacun de vous individuel.
What is your goal what is your goal for the audience when they see your performance?
C'est quoi le cible pour le public quand il te regarde sur la scène, quand il voit, par exemple, demain, la performance?
What do you want them to
C'est
take?
quoi que tu veux qu'il apprenne ou il réfléchisse ou il sentir?
Je veux qu'il voit une personne qui a une
I want them to see that somebody who has a heart, that has a beautiful heart,
mettre tout le monde.
that wants to make everybody happy,
Il y a déjà
that is already happy himself, and who wants to share that with everybody and make them happy,
prépare de mettre tout le monde pour rester dans le monde.
that is preparing to make everyone happy all over the world.
Oh, yeah.
Déjà, depuis qu'il est enfant.
That is already happy since he was a child, until he grew up. And I want to show that.
Yeah.
On voulait aussi partager,
We also want to share.
partager nos cultures,
We want to share our culture
parce que c'est important.
because it's important.
On sait que jazz,
We know that jazz,
soul,
the soul,
tout ça vient de l'Afrique.
all that comes from Africa.
Very important that you said that. It's very true.
Donc, ce qu'on donne,
What we give,
ça vient de nous.
it comes from us,
On l'a partagé partout dans le monde aujourd'hui.
and we share it all over the world together.
L'Afrique n'a pas bénéficié ça, mais le monde a bénéficié ça. Donc, on a fait là, on n'a pas fait de guerre, ni rien.
We haven't.
Et on veut toujours donner ce qui vient dans nos ancêtres.
We want to always share what's come through our ancestors.
Et voir que le monde, tout le monde a une seule sang. Il n'y a pas ni jaune, ni blanc, ni
There,
ni
there's only one person. There isn't like white or red or black.
la guerre, ni la violence.
There's none.
Donc, le monde, c'est un petit village.
The world is just a small village.
Donc, c'est ça qu'on regarde sur scène.
This is what we give on the stage.
Nos Sabar, nos Kora, notamment. Tu entends du son, du clair, tu entends du tout.
You're going to hear everything with our Sabar, our Kora, our Tama, soul, everything, plus our culture that we put inside
Nous le montrons
to show the world.
que ça parle. C'est pas seulement danser seulement.
It's not only dance
On est le seulement message.
or that we're happy, but we also give words. This reunites
Ça me soit.
and heals.
Soit. Parce que chaque jour, c'est des jours,
Every day that we play,
il y a des personnes différentes qui viennent.
there are different
Wow.
people who come to see.
Il y a des personnes, ils sont déjà contents.
There are people who come, they're already happy.
Il y a aussi des gens, ils ont beaucoup de stress.
There are also people who have a lot of stress.
Et nous, on devait faire plus happy les personnes qui sont déjà contentes.
You want to make people who are already happy happier.
Et on va faire oublier les gens qui sont stressés.
And we want to help people forget their stress. Yeah.
That's a good one.
Man,
Jason from Philly.
I don't know what I can add that they haven't already said, but yeah, it's pretty much the same. You know, if I can do anything, it would be to contribute, you know, my part to creating a musical experience that has a lot of that's alive, you know, that's spontaneous in the moment, and that's just people, it feels very alive, so that it can, you know, touch the parts of people that, you know, bring joy, help them feel joy, and to just feel inspired about being alive. I mean, if I think about what music has done for me, it's that it touches that part in you that makes you feel inspired about your life and about being alive. You know, and it's that's the same thing as what they were saying. You know, it's just making people happy and to feel that. So if I can help create that experience, then that's it.
I'd also like to answer.
Of course.
As the manager and producer with ABBA of the project, for me, I see that each one of the griot, they're wisdom keepers. And they have an ancient human technology that really the world needs right now. And especially as things become more automated, more computer-based, having the deeply, deeply human wisdom that they carry and share that with the world is very important.
Right.
And especially here in America, loneliness is such a problem. Sadness is such a problem. Stress. You know, I don't know any American who sleeps well. Literally.
I'm the exception.
Bless you. Bless you. You know, they have a lot of healing to give. And in Senegal, there are also healing ceremonies that are ndokhs that are based with rhythm. And so, yeah, I mean, I've been healed by them, and I really hope that others get to experience that too.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Well, thank you all for sharing. And I know I said I had one more question. I got two, but one is a wrap up.
Et là, notre question.
Anybody here a dancer?
Est-ce qu'il y a quelqu'un ici qui est fait?
Oh, Sabar specifically.
Everybody.
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 I want to see.
Je veux voir. Double lunk.
I'm done. I'm literally crying. That's what I wanted. Literally, just I love it so much. Thank you all so much. That just and a funny story. I made a comment earlier about the first time I went to Senegal, and when people were doing what y'all just did.
La première fois, elle était au Sénégal, tout le monde fait comme vous avez fait.
And I was like, trying to gather myself. And everybody was, wow. And I was like, yeah, wow. Like, you know, because in English, it's like amazing.
Yeah.
Wow, in anglais, c'est comme amazing.
But and then I realized, I was like, maybe this doesn't mean that. And then I'm like, oh, it means yes.
Wow.
So it was just so funny. It just makes me think about that. I'm like, yeah, don't ask me to do it, but beautiful. So I want to say a huge thank you to our phenomenal guests. Again, we were joined by Abba, Noumoucounda, Samba, Jason, and Beck. And please go ahead and share any events or activities you have coming up for Abba Diop and the Yermande family, and how our listeners can connect with you.
So there will be a performance in Burlington, Vermont at the Flynn on October 18th.
Okay.
They also recently released an album called the Abba Diop and the Yermande Family Revolution Sabar, which you can hear on all music platforms. We also are regularly creating video in Senegal, which we put on the YouTube channel. So we have a lot of really exciting videos that we just made when we were there last month. And so those are more live. We're able to do them in the studio. We have other musicians in Senegal who join. There's a larger group. And we also have our great technician Lump, who helps craft the sound.
Wow.
Yeah. And, hopefully there will be more coming. We're going to be making a new album in the new year. Wow. And hopefully more festivals in 2025.
Oh my gosh, definitely. And are you all primarily based in Senegal, or do you do a lot of traveling?
So we are between Senegal and New York at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but hopefully we'll be doing more traveling in the U.S. in the year to come.
Oh, wonderful. I'm looking out for it. And how can they connect with you all online, website, as well as any social media platforms?
So all the social media have the same handle. It's a little bit long. It's Abba, ABA, _Diop, DIOP, _Yermande, YERMANDE, _family. So Abba Diop Yermande family with underscores in between. And then also that's the same for the website, is just abadiopyermandefamily.com. But we also have a Patreon. Oh, yeah. And the Patreon is patreon.com/Abba Diop. And whenever people donate to the Patreon, it helps us pay the people back in Senegal. So we have a large number of people who are supporting the project. So it's not just the musicians here, but it's also the other musicians who participate in our videos. We have dancers who participate in the videos. We have the Laube who carve the Sabars, who help us make the instruments. The people who work in the studios, the people who cook the food next to the studio, who we then, buy food from in order to feed everybody. The taxi men who help us get around. It goes to help a lot of people back home. And everything that we do with our project is really to help people back in Senegal. So each of the griots here, they represent really large families, and everything that they make internationally, they send back home to support a really large family. So whenever anybody sends us money to the Patreon, we use it to make the videos, to make the album, and we make sure that we pay people well when we're there. So
very important, paying artists and paying all those who support the arts and who keep the arts thriving. And what is the Patreon? Is it the same?
It's patreon.com/Abba Diop.
/Abba Diop. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for that. Thank you all again. What do you say? Jeff. My poor Wolof. And y'all be sure to connect with them on all their platforms, and be sure to connect with Dance Africana Dance Podcast at danceafricana.com. And again, that's Africana with a K. Our Instagram is Dance Africana. And to my Africana people, don't forget to dance.